We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Hello everyone, welcome back to online lecture series on refrigeration and air conditioning. We are beginning a new topic which is load analysis. So let's begin. So first we will discuss about site survey for load analysis. The information which is required based on site survey are the actual cooling or heating load which is required, the possibilities of greatest load reduction with least cost, the most economical equipment selection and its location, the most effective and efficient air distribution system. Now we will discuss about outdoor design conditions. So the ambient temperature and moisture content may vary from hour to hour and from day to day as well as from place to place. So ambient temperature and moisture content are two things which does not remain constant during 24 hours or with respect to a location. So this will keep on changing. In summer, let us say if we take example of summer, then the ambient air temperature increases from sunrise, it reaches maximum value in afternoon and it decreases towards evening. The relative humidity also varies with respect to temperature and generally it reaches the minimum value when the ambient temperature reaches the maximum value. So as based on these points we can say that the ambient temperature and moisture content will not remain constant, it will keep on varying. Okay, so the selected design condition may prevail only for short duration and mostly the actual outside design conditions will be different from the design value. So the most of the time the plant will be running at the off design conditions. So let us say that we have designed a cooling system for 35 degrees Celsius outdoor condition and let us say 60% moisture, but this design point will not be there for all 24 hours. It will keep on varying. That's why most of the time plant will be running at the off design condition. Now indoor design conditions. The required inside design condition depend on the intended use of the building. So for what purpose we are going to use this building will have impact on the indoor design condition. That is, let us say for example the primary use is for comfort conditioning, that is normal air conditioning used in our rooms of house. So suitable comfort conditions for occupants, or we are also using this cooling system for storage of perishable products or for any specific manufacturing processes. So the condition for cold storage and industry vary depending on the specific requirements. However, for the comfort conditioning, in majority of the cases, the requirements will remain same for the wide range. Now we will see the classification of loads. First is according to the season. Summer cooling load, it is the amount of load is the amount of heat that must be removed per hour to produce and maintain design conditions within a space. So during summer we need to remove the heat. Now second is winter heating load. So load is amount of the heat which must be supplied per hour to produce and maintain the design conditions within a space. So two are opposite things. Now second category is according to the type of the loads. First is sensible heat load. Any heat source that rises the dry bulb temperature of air in the air conditioned space is called sensible heat load. Second is latent heat load. It is the any heat source that adds water vapor to the air in the conditioned space. The third category is according to the position of load. So external or outdoor loads, any load that is coming from the non-conditioned space, that is the outside space. Second is inside or internal loads, any load that is produced within the conditioned space. So this is the overall classification of loads. Now we will discuss about flywheel effect of building material. This is very important in designing our cooling system. So first of all, we need to understand the variation of temperature and load. So the temperature of wall of the air conditioned building increases with an increase in the outside air temperature, and heat is stored in the wall as the wall has considerable storage capacity. So if we think of our building, the heat that comes first into the contact of a building are the walls. So walls will get heated first, and then the heat will be stored inside this wall because it has considerable storage capacity. Now the storage capacity of wall depends on two aspects. First is the mass of building material, and second is the specific heat of the material, building material. And heat transferred to the air conditioned space is reduced due to high storage capacity of walls. The stored heat in the wall is given off to the room when the outside temperature falls. So you need to understand this carefully, that first of all, from the outside area, heat will enter into the wall. So walls will get heated and wall will store this heat. Okay. Now this wall is actually working as a blockage of heat towards the conditioned space. So first of all, the wall will consume or tolerate all the heat which is coming from the outside, and then this stored heat in the wall will be given into the room when the outside temperature falls. That is the case of evening. The temperature of ambient air is changing periodically over a cycle of 24 hours. So the instantaneous heat gain from the outside air is not equal to the instantaneous heat loss due to the inside air. And this difference is stored in the wall, and this inertia of building material is called as flywheel effect or storage effect. Now we will understand this diagram of flywheel effect. So here, if you see, the first curve is instantaneous heat gain, that is this part, and the graph is of heat versus time. So if you see, as the time increases, that is from morning towards afternoon, we are having increase in instantaneous heat gain. That is quite natural. This is the instantaneous heat gain increase, and once it reaches the maximum value towards the evening, there will be a drop in the instantaneous heat gain. Okay, so this is the curve for instantaneous heat gain. And now the second curve is instantaneous cooling load, that is given by this curve. So as you can see, the instantaneous cooling load also increases. However, there is a time lag, that is the time difference between the maximum instantaneous heat gain and maximum cooling load. So this is the time lag which is happening, because here the walls are storing the heat, and as the temperature starts reducing, the wall gives this heat to the conditioned space. So after some time we will observe the maximum cooling load which is required due to this time lag. And here, this is the reduction in the load, that is the difference between the maximum IHG and maximum ICL. Now this portion, this dashed portion, is heat released from the building material. Now we will understand this pull down load also. So two curves, instantaneous cooling load and instantaneous heat gain, are not identical. the heat striking the surface is not directly transferred to the conditioned space, and hence it is not ICL. And the prime reason for this is the walls which are storing this heat. Now we will study about pull down load. The heat which is being stored and released till the equipment starts working again will be an additional load on the equipment. So once we start switch on the equipment, it doesn't immediately start cooling effect. There will be some time which is required. So during this time heat will be stored and released. So this will be the additional load on the equipment. Due to this pull down load, the air conditioning equipments are generally started about 1 to 2 hours earlier. That is the effect of pull down load. Now use of flywheel effect in the design. So here, this is the cooling load. This is the cooling load which keeps on varying with respect to time. So we are designing the equipment with equipment capacity using this storage. So in order to remove the pull down load, the equipment is started earlier and its full capacity is utilized. This is the same thing which we discussed in our previous slide. Since at that time the other loads are not present, also the temperature of wall and roof will reduce further. So once we start our equipment 1 to 2 hours earlier, then the wall and roof temperature will reduce because of the early start of our cooling system. Thus they are capable of absorbing more heat from when the load increases again. So in this way we are using the flywheel effect in design. This will effectively used in reducing the capacity of plant in small commercial and residential installation. Now the effect of wall construction on cooling load. So here this is the similar kind of graph of instantaneous heat gain and instantaneous cooling load. The only difference is here we are taking 3 cases of light wall, medium wall and heavy wall. So if you see that the time lag in the light wall is minimum and in medium wall time lag is slightly more and the time lag is maximum in case of heavy wall. Okay, so this is the effect of type of wall which we are using in our building on the cooling load. Now the difference between instantaneous heat gain and instantaneous cooling load. So this is the figure that instantaneous heat gain is here, and instantaneous heat gain consists of 2 parts. First is radiative component and second is convective component. So instantaneous heat gain mainly consists of radiative part and convective part. Radiative part of the instantaneous heat gain is first absorbed by the solid object. So this radiative component will be absorbed by the solid objects, that is for furnishings, structure, variable storage, etc. This will not appear as the cooling load for the equipment until some time later, depending upon the construction of a building. So as you can see here, the radiative component is taking more time. Here it should be radiative. Okay, so next is the radiative portion appear as a cooling load as shown in the figure, and FR and FC are the radiative and convective part of instantaneous heat gain respectively, while convective component immediately required for the instantaneous cooling load. Now we will discuss about methods to reduce the solar heat gain through the glass. So first is use of special heat absorbing glass, which will reduce the solar heat gain by 25%. Second is stained glass, which will reduce the solar heat gain up to 30 to 68% based on its color. Third is double pane ordinary glass, which it reduces both conduction and solar heat gain by 10%. Fourth is shading device. It is installed on the outside of the window and can be effective in reducing the load up to 75% of solar load. Fifth is venetial blinds, extremely used as a shading device to reduce the solar load. It can reduce the load from 25% to 65%. Sixth is draperies. It is a decorative fabric, especially when hung loosely and in folds. It is used as an internal shading device. The reduction is between 5 to 20%. Now we will discuss about various reasons for the load. First is load due to the air infiltration. The air which is entering into a conditioned space through window cracks and opening of door is known as air infiltration. Now air infiltration is caused by pressure difference on two sides of the window and doors, and it depends on wind velocity and direction as well as difference in the density due to the temperature difference between inside air and outside air. So air infiltration, if you see, then there are two things. First is inside condition and outside condition. Okay, so wind velocity will be one factor as well as its direction, and density difference of air due to the temperature difference between the inside air and outside air. See, if outside air is hot, then the density will be low, and inside air will be cold, so its density will be more. So these will be the reasons for the air infiltration. The amount of air infiltrated can be calculated with the help of two methods. First is crack length method and second is air change method. We will only discuss about the air change method. So the quantity of air infiltrated through windows and walls can be given by air change method with this formula. The formula is infiltrated air is equal to LWHAC divided by 60 meter cube per minute, where L is the room length in meters, W is room width in meters, H is the room height in the meters, and AC is air change per hour. That will give us the quantity of infiltrated air in meter cube per minutes. So this was load due to the air infiltration. Now load due to the ventilation. So ventilation air is the portion of supplied air which is outdoor air plus any recirculated air that has been treated for the purpose of maintaining acceptable indoor air quantity. So ventilation air consists of two things. First is outside air and second is recirculated air. Ventilation is the process of supplying and removing air by natural or mechanical means. So here we are supplying as well as removing the air by means of natural or mechanical means to and from any space. It minimizes the odor, concentration of smoke, carbon dioxide and any other undesirable gases, so that the freshness of air could be maintained. So this is related to the comfort air conditioning. The quantity of outside air used for ventilation should provide at least 1/2 air change per hour in the buildings with normal ceiling height. Now the next is heat gain from the occupants, that is the people which are staying inside that conditioned space. It also constitutes a major portion of load. The heat load from a person is in the form of sensible heat load and latent heat load. The heat quantity given by occupants are dependent on the activity of person, sex, age and indoor dry bulb temperature. Now the loads due to the electric lights. The electric lighting equipment generates heat and it is given up in the air conditioned space. The heat gained from the electric lights depends on the rating of lights in watts, use factor and allowance factor. So this is the formula for that. That is, heat gained from the electrical lights is equal to total wattage of lights multiplied by use factor multiplied by allowance factor. And here the use factor, the second term which is here, use factor is the ratio of actual wattage in the use to installed wattage. And third factor, which is allowance factor, is the allowance factor is generally used in case of fluorescent tubes and its value is generally taken 1.25. So this was the load due to the electrical lights. Now the next is heat gain from the products. Here the meaning of product is anything whose temperature is reduced by the refrigeration equipment. It includes perishable commodities such as foodstuff in case of cold storage, and other it's such as electrical rods, plastics, medicines and liquids of all types in industries. The quantity of heat to be given up by the product to the refrigerating space depends on the following factors. First is the initial state of product at the time of entering. Second is final state of product it attains after storing. Third is nature of product. Fourth is freezing temperature, and last is latent heat of fusion. So these are 5 factors on which the quantity of heat to be removed from by the product depends on. Now the next is load due to the electrical motors. The power equipment such as electric motor, fan or any other equipment of this type also adds heat in the air conditioned space. The heat gain from the electrical motor is given by this formula, that is Q electrical motor is equal to power rating of motor in kilowatt divided by motor efficiency multiplied by load factor. Here the load factor is the fraction of total load at which the motor is working. That will be the heat gain from the electrical motor. Now the last is load due to the appliances. The various appliances used in air conditioned space like fan, hot plates, hair dryer, oven etc. generate heat and it is given up in the air conditioned space. So this was load due to the appliances. So this is the end of load analysis topic. I hope you enjoyed while learning this chapter. In case if you have any form of difficulty, you can put it in comments. Thank you for watching this video.